Well, good morning. It's Marcus again, here to talk to you a little bit today about my trip to Tallahassee this week, where I went over and talked to some of our state legislators about some new changes proposed to our PIP laws and also hopefully some movement towards mandatory bodily injury coverage in Florida. So for those of you that are wondering what that's all about, here's the deal. PIP law changed in Florida at the beginning of this year. It was a drastic reduction in benefits, not good for consumers in my opinion. And recently, a circuit court judge in Tallahassee, Judge Lewis, has entered an injunction challenging the constitutionality of that bill. The state of Florida appealed, which led to a stay, and all that's a complicated way of saying it's a stalemate until the First District Court of Appeals can rule. In the meantime, the Florida Justice Association, of which I'm a member and have been an executive officer in the past and on the board of directors, has been lobbying senators and House members to modify the existing PIP bill. We've had moderate success in dialogue, but certainly no bill, in my opinion, is going to pass this session. The existing PIP law in its first year of existence has proven to be problematic and has proven to be unmanageable, and it needs to be changed. We knew that when it was passed, and we opposed it before, and it should be overturned and probably will be. The real question, though, is what are we going to do when that's out or modified? And what we really need, and Florida is one of, I believe it's only 6 states, we're one of only 2 states that don't have mandatory BI, bodily injury, and don't require medical payments coverage. It's just us in New Hampshire. But if you're not familiar with these laws require drivers to have coverage, to have insurance that protects the person that may be hurt by their negligence. So if I make a mistake and I hurt somebody, currently in Florida I'm not required to carry insurance that covers that person. What we're trying to do is get a bill passed in Florida that says every driver should have insurance, so if they hurt you, they've got insurance to cover you. Currently in Florida, we require what some people call full coverage. We require PIP, but that covers us. If I make that same mistake and I hurt you, my insurance covers me. And if you don't have underinsured motorist coverage, or uninsured motorist coverage, then you don't have any coverage to cover you for your injuries. So Florida needs to join the majority of states, the overwhelming majority of states in this country, that require mandate bodily injury coverage. And we're going to try to do that. Now, Senator Simmons from Seminole outside of Orlando has had a bill in front of the Senate for the last 3 years, I believe, asking the Senate to support mandatory bodily injury. It was not until the very beginning of this legislative session that Governor Scott hinted, when he was being questioned about Judge Lewis's recent order challenging the constitutionality of the PIP law that he had fought so hard for. Only when he was asked by reporters what he thought about that did he let known that maybe he would tolerate a mandatory BI bill. And that gave life to Senator Simmons' bill, which was not even sponsored and was not even going to be submitted this session, because everyone assumed that the governor would veto it even if it passed. When the governor sort of blinked or flinched, realizing that his PIP law change of this year, which was so favorable to insurance companies and so unfavorable to Florida citizens, when he finally realized that it was probably not going to hold constitutional muster, he blinked a little and suggested maybe he would not veto a mandatory BI bill. That gave life to Senator Simmons and others, but there wasn't enough time, and there isn't enough time left in this legislative session to get those bills through committees in both the Senate and the House. So mandatory BI, which is receiving good response, and when I was in Tallahassee this week talking to senators and talking to House members, it seems to be, the environment seems to suggest that we're going to be able to achieve this goal, but not this year. So if you're out there and you care about these things, have hope. Prepare yourself for the argument that's coming. The argument that's coming is that insurance policies are going to cost more. That's a lie, okay? If you come back to this side, I'm going to prove that it's a lie. We're going to show you that Colorado did this exact same thing last year, and that the insurance companies were threatening that the rates were going to go up over in Colorado. They didn't. They went down, depending upon whose statistics you use, the price of insurance went down by either 20 or 28%, somewhere in that range. So when you hear the people saying it's going to cost you more, don't believe it. It's not true. So that's the update from Tallahassee. That's the update from our legislative session on how it impacts us in the car accident world. There's a little bit of traction over there. We got texting laws passed where finally Florida joins the modern world and says don't text and drive. We were down to one of the last 6 states on that. But the good news is that's passed. On the med mal world and the medical malpractice world, there's legislation over there that's trying to limit victims' rights. We're still fighting a little bit about that. The doctors want to be able to meet ex parte with the other doctors that have treated you without you being present or without you knowing about it. That's a bad bill. We're fighting that. In addition to that, they want the very same specialty of medicine only to be able to testify against a similar specialty of medicine. That's a little complicated, and we'll get to that another day. If you have questions, you can always reach us here at the law firm. If you have questions that are complex and you want to email us, go to Facebook, wherever. We'll respond to every one of them. We'll talk to you next time.